Hello and welcome back to another week here at Knack Kitchen, where today we are making a no-bake chocolate caramel tart. This tart is very easy to make and comes together with very little effort and just a handful of ingredients. So without further ado, let's just get into this video. So the first thing that we'll make is our Oreo crust, and we're going to start obviously with some Oreo biscuits, which here I'm using the chocolate ones, and we're just going to ground them into a powder. You can use the normal Oreos. To that we'll add some butter, and here I'm using salted butter because I do like the taste of salt in this crust. You can use unsalted butter if you choose. And now we're just going to mix this together and bring it together into a mixture which resembles the consistency of wet sand. I've done this before a lot of times, so we're going to do the same thing. And once our biscuits are at the desired consistency, we are going to fill our tart shells. And here I have 4-inch tart shells which have a removable bottom. It just makes it easier later. And this is what we're going to do. So to get our tart shells filled, I like to do this by hand. You can do this with a spoon if you choose, but I just think it's easier and you end up with an even crust if you do this with your hands. So here our tart shell is ready, and we're going to do the same with the other 2 tart shells as well. And once it's all done, we're going to put this in the refrigerator for about an hour until the tart shells are set completely. So before we are ready to take our tart shells out of the fridge, we're going to prepare our caramel filling, and we start with some sugar in a saucepan, to which we'll also add some water, which will just make it easier to melt the sugar. And you can see the pan's already hot and the water is sizzling. So we're just going to move the sugar around a bit, but I do not like to disturb the sugar with any utensil at this point. I just let it boil and do its thing. And that's because if you try and stir it with a spoon, you run the risk of your sugar crystallizing, and we don't want that. So while your sugar is boiling, don't disturb the pan and it'll do its thing. It'll start turning brown, and as you can see, it starts at the edges. You'll start noticing a hint of brown, and it does not take long at this point. Within about half a minute or so, your whole sugar will develop this beautiful amber color, and that's when you're ready to go ahead and pour in your cream. And as you can notice, I used a thick part of cream, but you don't need to. You can actually use a thinner cream, and that will do the trick just as well, and it'll actually be better because I felt like my caramel was a little too chewy for my liking, and to avoid that, you can use thinner cream. So after about 30 to 40 seconds of stirring, we'll go ahead and add our butter. And here, don't cut down on the butter because again, I was trying to be a little stingy and I might have used about 35 grams, and that also makes your caramel a lot chewy and less pourable. So I would suggest that adding about 50 grams of butter would be the right amount to get the right consistency. And now we'll just cook this for another 30 seconds, not longer, and then our caramel is ready to be poured into our chilled tart shells. So once our caramel has been evenly distributed, the tart goes back into the refrigerator for another half an hour while we start working on our chocolate ganache for the top. Now for the chocolate ganache, I'm not just using only chocolate and cream, I'm also adding a little bit of vanilla extract and a little bit of coffee powder because I feel they just enhance the flavor, particularly for this tart. So to the chocolate, we are adding the hot cream, which we just boiled in our saucepan. And we're adding hot cream to the chocolate so that it does not burn the chocolate, and after letting it sit for about 2 minutes, we'll start stirring, and you'll notice your ganache goes from a bit of an ugly mess to this beautiful glossy mixture. So by this time, our tart is adequately chilled and the caramel is relatively set. So we're just gonna go ahead and add the chocolate ganache in an even layer, or about as even as we can possibly get. So here I'm just trying to smoothen the top using my spatula. You can use the back of your spoon or an offset spatula, whatever you may have, and then this goes right back into the refrigerator. In all honesty, this tart really does not require a lot of skill as much as it requires patience, but trust me when I say this, it's totally going to be worth it. And right now our tart is ready to be served, but I'm just giving it a little bit of jazz with some white chocolate, and that's only for the sake of this video. I mean, in normal circumstances, I'm just at home, gonna eat this by myself. I would not go that extra step, but I just think it does make it look a lot more presentable. And here you can see our beautiful chocolate caramel tart, which is no-bake and eggless for that matter. And it's so easy to make and so indulgent, you just have to give it a try. And here I'm just gonna slice into one of the tarts to show you how beautiful the layers are on the inside. You can see the beautifully set caramel and the layer of chocolate ganache as well. So there's really nothing more left to say except I hope you try this recipe and that you love this tart just as much as I do. And as always, thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up, do subscribe to the channel, and I will see you next week.